Hi, gang. It's Patrick.
And JT.
Coming up on today's episode, we dive deep into a discussion on the fascinating history and legacy of Touchstone Pictures. As always, we discuss the latest Disney news, and we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
JT, is it your birthday, girl? Landry.
Aw. It actually is. It is.
It
as
truly
we speak. Patrick, touch me. Kazuki.
Let's do the time warp again, shall we?
That intro serves two purposes. Because we're recording on Halloween Eve.
Yes.
And how else do you spend Halloween Eve? Well, many people besides watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And touch is like, we're talking about Touchstone today.
Oh,
and
I like it.
You know.
What an onion that this intro is.
It's a Russian nesting doll of an intro.
It really is. It really is. So we can't go any further without. So last episode we celebrated your birthday, but this is the first time in GDTD history that we are literally recording on the night of one of the hosts' birthdays, and it is your
really?
birthday. Yeah, never happened before.
Oh my gosh! Wow,
I know. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. It just shows I have nothing to do.
Nope, you have this to do, which is most important.
It's very true.
Above all else.
It's true. No, it's a wonderful way to spend my birthday evening.
Aw, well,
I can spend it with you, Patrick.
I mean, what could be a better gift, really? I can't
truly.
Well, however is your birthday? Are you having a good birthday? Are you having a...
It goes Patrick.
Yes.
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh in that order.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So you're having a great birthday then.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Happy birthday. I wish I was there in person to have a drink with you, to
I would
have
love that.
a meal with you, but alas.
Well, I will probably be in Minneapolis before the year is out, so
Well, there you go.
we will have a rain check on that.
Fair enough. Well, let's check in. How are you? You just closed a show. It's your birthday.
Yeah.
Halloween is tomorrow. I mean, so many things are happening. How are you?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Opened and closed a show since the last time I was on. Which was great. Now I have like the post-show blues.
I get it. Yep.
Which you understand very well.
Tracking.
Yeah. It's getting darker very early, so pile that on top of the post-show blues.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, it's good. Other than that, we're muddling through all of that, but it's good. It's Scorpio season, so I really feel like I should be taking the reins.
Yes.
And being the Scorpio that I know I was born to be.
Take ownership of your Scorpionus.
Yes. my Scorpionics. Yeah. Because, Scorpios are supposed to be, Scorpios are traditionally very passionate, me a little bit, right? So maybe I should just take the reins and embrace that this season. And,
please do.
And, demand to be seen on the level that I am at. How about that?
Give yourself permission.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. How are you, Patrick?
How am I? I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I keep saying like fall is my power season, but I mean, I would be a liar if I didn't say that, there's just a lot happening in the world right now as we speak. The elections are next week after we record. Once this episode drops, the election will potentially have happened. Who can say? I don't know. I mean, like, there's just so much going on right now, and so I'm doing as well as can be expected. I'm taking some ownership of just being like physically and mentally present. Like I'm starting to do a lot more yoga right now and doing some like mobility sessions with Peloton and just trying to stay mentally and physically limber, I guess.
I like that. I know. I like that. No, it sounds like you're making your self-care a priority, and I think that's the only right way to be.
Do you know? I think that I am. It's taken me 40 plus years now to get into this new practice of like getting ahead of it as opposed to reacting to it. Do you know what I mean?
Being proactive, not reactive. Yeah,
exactly.
No,
so,
I think that's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that being said, we have in our show notes that we should just to briefly touch. It says in the show notes on the election that is happening next week. Who can say? I don't know.
I feel like, Patrick, I remember like when I was growing up and my parents would go vote on election day. Yeah. And it was just a lovely, calm day.
It was almost joyous.
It was a joyous day. And it was like, no, and yes, I mean, obviously there's always been political parties, whatever, but like it was a day where everyone was just like joyously, or at least dutifully going to the polls, acting very civilized, casting their vote, saying hello to their neighbor as they pass them in the polling place. And now it is like, I feel like it is like a militarized zone across the entire country.
I know. It's true. I don't mean to make light of it at all. No. But at this point, it's almost like what else can we do right now but surrender to whatever may be,
Yeah, I think you just have to, first of all, you have to go vote. If you're eligible to vote and you are registered to vote. And even if you are not registered to vote, there are some states where you can register same day, right? Are there not?
You can. Yes. All this being for naught, though, because this will be after the election by the time people start listening to this episode.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, for next year, ladies and gentlemen.
Will they, when does this episode drop?
This will drop on, Sunday. So you'll have 2 days.
You'll have 2 days. So if you're listening to this on Sunday night or Monday,
that's right,
and you are registered to vote and you have not voted, go vote on Tuesday. Stay in line until, and even after the polls close. If you're in line, stay in line.
Yes.
And if you are if you're not registered to vote and you're in a state where you can register same day as election day, go do it.
Yes, look it up. Go to vote.gov, and all the information will be there for you. Also, if you're listening to this on Sunday or Monday, thank you for being an early listener. Good for you.
Yeah.
Gold star.
And if you're not listening to this, then Godspeed all throughout next week.
We really hope this is bringing you some sort of joy, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, regardless of what happens. But, number one, vote. Number two, protect your peace. Protect your...
that part.
Protect yourself.
Yeah. This message has been brought to you and is endorsed by Gaze to the D. Oh, good times.
Oh, gosh. Well, that's enough with that, Patrick.
That is enough. With that. I'm sure there will be much to talk about in the next episode, but we're on to this episode right now.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course you can.
When I say protect your peace, be patient.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because as you're listening, you might be listening to this on Tuesday or Wednesday, and we might not know the answer yet, but just be patient, protect your peace, protect your mental health.
There you go.
If you need to leave MSNBC, and if you need to leave Steve Kornacki for a second and go outside and breathe fresh air.
Yes.
Go do it.
Stay informed, but be equipped to walk away from the television for a little bit and turn on your favorite podcast, and that's Gaze to the D, obviously.
And you know what else you could turn on?
What's that?
The final 2 episodes of Agatha All Along.
You can also do that. What good timing on their part,
right? Yeah,
we're going to need it
because I know what I'm doing after we finish recording.
Fair. Well, speaking of magic, I have to say, on this recording evening, so much is happening tonight. The newest episode of Magic and Monsters will have already dropped, so you have an additional bonus episode of Gaze to the D with our crossover podcast buddies over at Camp Kaiju for the Magic and Monsters episode. This time we reviewed the movie Morpheus, starring Jared Leto. Boy, what a ride. What a ride, everybody. Tune in and let us know your thoughts on that movie as well, because it's a movie that happened, and Disney owns it, and they must own up to it as well.
It's like, so my book club, Patrick, whenever there's a book that's just kind of, it's not great, it's not awful, it's just there, and it's like it meets the qualifications for what a book is. We just say it book. Like it book. So, it movie.
It movie. And
movie.
now I'm trying to backtrack in my head. Did I say Morpheus? I meant Morbius. If I
Morbius,
said Morpheus,
okay.
I did not mean
Morbius.
Anyways,
Yeah.
the vampire movie starring
The vampire.
Jared
Yes.
Leto.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
It happened. It's out there.
man, a double D dose this week.
You get 2 Ds this week, everybody. You're very welcome.
Man, 2
You're
Ds.
gonna need it. Take 2 Ds and call us in the morning.
2 Ds are better than 1.
That's always true. Now let's move on, JT, because
Okay.
we're gonna need it. Some celebrations. This
Okay,
week.
I love it. Let's celebrate.
Let's kick us into it since it's your birthday.
Okay, all right. At the Disney Sidekick, visiting Disney World for Halloween and staying for 2 weeks.
Oh my stars! 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Good
Are you
for
from? Wait,
you.
is At the Disney Sidekick from the UK? Because you know how a lot of the UK folk come over for 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah, I mean, at least for 2 weeks, because
Well-
it's necessary and needed. I don't know. I don't actually know.
Well-
Are you from the UK? The Disney Sidekick.
and you'll be there when this drops. So, are you listening to us on the Skyliner on your way to a park?
So many questions. Send us a picture right now if you're listening.
Yes. Yeah. And where are you staying? And come back to us with like a little trip report. Like, let us know what your favorite thing was. Is this your first time? Whatever. We want to know all the things. Did you go to the expensive, like $100 cake slice shop?
Oh,
What is it? The cake bake shop? The cake bake
I
shop?
I thought it wasn't that expensive, or maybe it just.
I thought people were losing their minds over
I
how
know.
expensive the cake bake shop was.
We're one person in on celebrating. We have to move on.
Okay, sorry.
We've already digressed about 10 minutes into it. Okay, moving on. We have at Steve Achu celebrating simply Halloween. Same. Halloween Achu, Spookachu, all the Achus.
Are you dressing up? What are you dressing up as? Are you going to a costume party?
JT, we don't have time. We can't ask
Oh my
this
God.
many questions for each person. I'm editing this. Remember that.
Oh, that's right. You know Steve Achu has a good costume, though.
I'm sure.
Yeah, okay.
Steve Achu likely stole a costume from the parks and is wearing that right now.
I love it. I support. At C Ross 22, Wine and Dine Race Weekend has arrived.
Yes, I should have said that at the beginning of this episode. Congratulations, I think, because I think that people will have run by the time this comes out, to all the runners from the Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend. Best of luck and congratulations to all of you.
Yeah. You're not going, are you, Patrick?
I am not. I'm not
Okay.
there right now. Turns out
Okay.
I'm in my basement instead.
Oh, yes. I see you in your basement now. I didn't. Well, you could be leaving right after this to catch a red-eye flight.
This is true. I buried the lead. I'm actually on a plane right now.
Great. Love it.
Moving on, we have at Adam Runs Disney celebrating Run Disney again. Run Disney Wine and Dine Challenge this coming weekend. Congratulations. Let us know. Show us those medal pics.
Yeah. At ADV Parker, the start of my birthday month.
Happy birthday month to you.
It's also Patrick's birthday month.
Is it? It is. You're right.
It is. Now, I am curious if you're a Scorpio or a wait, Patrick, what are you?
You don't care at all, do you?
Oh,
I am.
Capricorn, right? No,
No.
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. There you go.
Sagittarius, yeah. So, ADV Parker, let us know if you are a Scorpio or a Sagittarius.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
And happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday. And then last but not least, we have at Silent Tommy celebrating Patti LuPone's stellar performance on Agatha All Along. Oof, so good.
Man,
so
give
good.
her the Emmy Award right now.
I mean, what on earth?
A
What on
tour de
earth?
force performance.
You know, full confess, I am historically not the biggest fan of Patti LuPone. I mean, I understand the greatness that is Patti LuPone. I just get a little bit sort of annoyed with her here and there. Like, she's just, I don't know. She knows that she's Patti LuPone, and that's great. I mean, we should
does.
all, she's come into her own many years
Yeah.
ago, and she's remained there. So celebrate that, absolutely. But yeah, her in the show, meant to be. Just chef's
Man.
kiss. Well done.
And that episode that centers around her, she is
Yes.
just incredible.
Just so well written, too. Like,
Oh
that
my
whole
gosh,
episode
yeah.
was just beautiful. I just
Was
loved
that
it.
was that like maybe the best episode of Marvel television yet?
I mean, yeah,
It's up there.
I think
It's up there.
It was great. Maybe that's a Fab Five we need to do is Marvel
Oh,
television. I like it.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, what are
thank
you celebrating, Patrick?
Oh, I was going to say thank you everybody for your celebrations. What am I celebrating? I'm celebrating your birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I'm celebrating Halloween, and I'm celebrating the start of a new month, and hopefully it's a real good month.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in the start of the month, but hopefully it's all for the best.
Yeah.
I'm celebrating that. What about you?
I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
I am going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate you, Patrick, a little early. I'll celebrate you again, but I'm going to celebrate you tonight too.
I was going to say, is this you saying, I'm definitely going to forget your birthday later, so I'm just going to say happy birthday now?
I'm going to celebrate you home.
Oh, my stars.
Me and Kenny Loggins.
I love it. Well, moving on, JT, we have one of my favorite things in the world is one of our Tweedles left us a voice memo.
You know, Patrick, can I just say, because there were voice memos on the last episode too.
Yes.
Tweedles really listened because we said that we were missing voicemails from people and Tweedles are delivering.
People are delivering the voice memos. Now, please start sending us the art that you all used to send us before, too, because we loved it and we miss it dearly. But, yes, on to voice memos. We have a voice memo from Daniel. And when I say a voice memo, I mean a voice dissertation because it's about 3 minutes long.
Okay,
so
great.
Buckle up, everybody. But every moment is delicious. Here we go from Daniel.
Hey guys, this is Daniel leaving you a voice memo. I have a inkling that this might be a longish voice memo, so please do not feel obliged to play the whole thing. But sometimes you just have a lot of things to say. First of all, I just wanted to say that I think that this Lightning Lane multi-pass premiere rubbish nonsense is the worst thing ever. I think it's obnoxious and horrifying and infuriating. For years I would make fun of the Universal Parks Express Pass where you would pay like $90 or something to get a front of line pass for the day. And this is like 4 to 5 times that price. It's just horrifying. It's elitist in the worst way. It's the worst idea they've come up with since Song of the South. That's what I think. Secondly, I will now be talking about the 5 things that I think are most magical moments in the Disney parks. So good that they must be done with witchcraft. So for me, my number 5 is the end of the Festival of the Lion King, when one of the dancers as the bird goes spinning up towards the ceiling and whatnot. Magical, amazing. Don't know how she does it. Number 4 is in the end of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway when the factory scene becomes the park scene. That moment is so stunning to me, and I've ridden on it now plenty of times since it opened at Disneyland, and every time I go into that room, I study a different part of the room to watch the transformation because so much happens so quickly, and it's just absolutely magical. My number 3 is there used to be the Frozen musical at the theater in DCA. And Elsa's dress transformation in that show was even better than what they do on Broadway. Because they used to have this like rotating half of an ice bridge thing that would swivel out so that she's like literally above the front few rows of the audience. And then, she snaps her fingers and the dress flies away and, the whole thing takes less than 1.2 seconds and she's suddenly in her blue sparkling outfit. It's magic. It's wonderful. Must be witchcraft. Number 2, anytime anything flies around the castle, of course, Tinkerbell, but also, in the recent Pixar Fest fireworks, the Up House was flying around the castle for part of that. And then in the Wondrous fireworks last year, the Baymax would fly around the castle at Disneyland. Magical, wonderful, must be witchcraft. And then finally, my favorite moment is honestly the ending of Fantasmic. Everything from the reveal of the Steamboat Willie Fairy, all these characters, some of whom you can't see in the parks normally, and then because I'm a music nerd, the sort of the second last key change into the fireworks section, and then the surprise extra key change that happens after that where it goes upper major third, and you're like, what? No, what? Too much. It's too much. I'm feeling too many emotions. That's my favorite witchcraft moment of all. Enjoy. Hope you all are having a good week. Talk to you soon.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Daniel, what a great list. What a great list. I have to agree. I'm obsessed with unnecessary key changes. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Same.
When it's just obnoxiously, it's like, what do you do? What, another key change? I love it. I'm obsessed
I love
with
it. Same.
The best thing in the world.
Yeah.
What a great list.
And totally agree that like the Frozen dress change at the Hyperion Theater show like blows the Broadway version out of the water.
They need to bring that back for
They
sure.
do. They do.
For
They do.
sure.
Great list.
Well,
Thank you, Daniel.
great list. Thank you for sending us that voice memo. And you should know by now, because of Luca's voice memo last week, if you tell us not to play it, we're going to play it. We're going to play the whole thing. So be prepared when you.
We
send
might
us a
just
voice
make that
memo.
the episode.
I mean, that's it. And thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been Gage the D, starring Daniel. Yeah. Well, before we get into the news, JT, are you ready for some This Week in Disney history?
I am.
Amazing. This is a birthday special because both of them are birthdays.
Oh, wow.
JT.
Okay.
Celebrating along with you. Okay, here we go. 72 years ago, JT, on November 3rd, 1952, this voice actor was born in Youngstown, Ohio. He has literally hundreds and hundreds of credits to his name, but some of his more famous voice roles include Ray in Princess and the Frog, Hondo Anaka, Winnie the Pooh, and Tigger. Do you know the name of this voice actor?
Is it Jim Cummings?
It is indeed, ding, 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 Jim Cummings, a prolific voice actor for not only Disney, but many studios. Fun fact, he was the very first voice actor to voice both the animated and live action voices for the same characters with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, of course, in the animated films, and then in the live action Christopher Robin.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, how do you, like, are you born with different kind of vocal cords and like a mouth structure to be able to like,
I don't know. I mean, some people, the talent has to be there for sure. Like, there's something that's soothing or not soothing with someone's voice. But I imagine it's like whistling, right? You have to learn how to do it, and it just practice and practice and practice, and just knowing your own, for lack of a better word, this sounds so pretentious, knowing your instrument. You know what I mean?
No, it's true though. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to the second birthday. Well, I guess the third birthday, because yours is the first birthday. Jim Cummings is the second birthday. And now this one, 108 years ago, JT.
Same year as me.
That's right, same year. November 4th, 1916, the year of JT. This TV personality was born in St. Joseph, Missouri. He appeared in the 1981 TV special Walt Disney, One Man's Dream, as well as the 1989 broadcast of the opening of Disney's MGM Studios. He appeared in and narrated the film Back to Neverland, which was shown in MGM Studios, and he was the second voice of Spaceship Earth in Epcot. Do you know who this voice is? This man, not just this voice, but this man.
Is it Walter Cronkite?
It is indeed Walter Cronkite, known as the most trusted man in America in his time.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding,
ding.
Well, you didn't fail us on your birthday, so well done to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
A birthday winner, JT.
It feels good to be perfect.
Anyway.
Just like Mary Poppins.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's move on to the news so we can get a little bit imperfect, I guess, because the news is rough lately, everybody.
It is.
We'll try to brighten it up a little bit. We'll see. What we can do.
I think we can do it.
Birthday news.
Patrick, the Moana apocalypse is coming.
Oh,
are you ready?
It sounds so daunting. I don't know. Am I?
Well, it is. At least that's what box office pundits are calling the imminent arrival of Moana 2. And advance sales are backing that up. On Monday of this week, that would be October 28th, tickets for the highly anticipated sequel went on sale and sold more in a single day than any other 2024 animated film, including Inside Out 2, which is now like the biggest animated film of all time, which is also wild to wrap my head around.
Yes.
It was also the fourth best single day advance sale of the year, behind only Deadpool and Wolverine, Wicked, and Dune Part 2. Moana 2 arrives the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, only 5 days after Gladiator 2 and Wicked open. That is going to be like a bloodbath at the box office.
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
Yeah. The sequel, as many know by now, began as a television series for Disney Plus before being turned into a movie, and it does bring back Dwayne Johnson and Ali Carvalho. I know I just totally butchered butchered that name. Do you know how to pronounce that?
I think you said it perfectly, actually.
Oh, did it? Oh, well,
Yeah,
look at
well
me.
done.
Perfect
It's your
again.
birthday.
Perfect again.
You said it just right.
With new songs by Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear. No Lin-Manuel Miranda this time around.
Interestingly, yeah.
I know, yeah. A couple of other signs of the Moana apocalypse. Its trailer was viewed by 176 million people in the first 24 hours. That is more than any trailer for any Disney or Pixar film ever.
Wow.
And the first Moana was the most streamed movie across all streaming platforms in 2023, which is wild.
I believe that. I wonder why in 2023, like why? I guess
I know.
I have so many questions.
I know. I mean, because Moana came out in 2016.
I mean, yeah, I thought as though it was a new movie, and Disney Plus came out before
2019.
Yeah.
So why 2023? I mean, I don't know if there was just some, because some things just like, I mean, Moana's always been popular.
Sure.
But was there something that just made it really like high up in people's like?
Yeah. Well, I suppose the announcement of Moana 2.
Well,
people were like, "Well, let me revisit Moana." Then I suppose.
But just out of all the movies that are streaming on every platform, the fact that Moana was the most streamed just means that like the anticipation for this is probably like incredibly high.
Must be, yeah, because specifically in 2023. So I wonder, was that not the case in 2020? I have so many questions. So many questions.
Yeah.
Well,
are you excited about Moana 2? Be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I
love your uncertainty.
If I'm honest, it hasn't really been on my radar. I've become a jaded skeptic in my aged years as of late, in that I don't know if we need Moana 2. That being said, I really hope it's a wonderful, amazing film, and if it is, I will celebrate it along with everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I have concerns. The fact that this was originally going to be a TV series and that they have like rejiggered it to be a movie makes me want, like, if it wasn't originally set out to be a movie and you're trying to like make the puzzle pieces fit to make it a movie, like, I don't know.
Or you could flip that and think that maybe they just had so much amazing content that it couldn't not be a movie. Hopefully that's the case, but we'll find out.
I think I'm also like, do we need this plus the live action Moana?
We do not, JT.
No, we don't. And which would you rather have? Well, I would rather have them tell a new story than just go back and make a live action version of the same thing, which is really just going to be an animated version of the same thing.
Who can say? I have said it before, and I stick by this thought in that I'm excited about the live action Moana because I have to believe it's going to be so beautiful and it will shine such a light on, the Polynesian Islands and give opportunity for all of these actors to be in roles in which they are, well set and well equipped to be in. So
no, you're right.
Hopefully we get a lot of really amazing new talented faces on the screen and a really beautiful diverse cast, and so I'm excited about that part of it.
Yeah.
Remakes not usually a big fan of, but remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see it anyway.
We sure will. We sure will. Well, moving on, JT, I have some fun news for all of the nerds in our midst. I'm talking about the board of directors at the Disney company.
I love a board of directors update.
Don't you just? So, but I do think it's important that we do talk about it because, the board is running Disney, basically. So
I'm interested.
I am. Starting January 2nd, 2025, James P. Gorman will serve as the newly elected chairman of the board of the Walt Disney Company. Gorman will replace the current chairman, Mark G. Parker, who will officially depart from the board fully after 9 years of service. That's a long time to be on the board, everybody.
MGP.
Gorman is currently chair of the Disney Board's succession planning committee, working to hire and onboard the next CEO of the company. A quote from current CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, quote, "The Disney board has benefited tremendously from James Gorman's expertise and guidance. And we are lucky to have him as our next chairman, particularly as the board continues to move forward with his succession process, end quote. And then another quote from Gorman himself in regards to the current work on succession planning. A critical priority before us is to appoint a new CEO, which we now expect to announce in early 2026. This timing reflects the progress the succession planning committee and the board are making and will allow ample time for a successful transition before the conclusion of Bob Iger's contract in December 2026, end quote. There is no official word on the full talent pool when it comes to who is being considered for CEO, but two names continue to surface to the top of most news outlets. That would be Dana Walden, or is it Dana? Is it Dana Walden or Dana? I don't know. I think
it's Dana.
Dana. We're going to go with Dana, who is currently co-chair of Disney Entertainment. Her current focus with the company is on Disney branded television, ABC programming, and FX programming. And then also, of course, Josh D'Amaro is in the running, who is chairman of Disney Experiences, overseeing Walt Disney Imagineering, parks, and consumer products. D'Amaro also leads Disney's global strategy, finance, operations, marketing, creative development, and technology. It should also be pointed out that as of right now, there has never been a woman as chairman of the board of the Walt Disney Company. So it would be exciting to see a woman chair the board. However, that being said, though, I mean, Josh D'Amaro is... Everybody loves Josh D'Amaro, and he's very well-rounded in Disney, and whereas Dana is very prolific in her success of Disney television, but has never had like park experiences. So, I mean, you know, both would be great candidates.
They would. Yeah. I mean, for sure. I think it'll probably, I mean, is that like, what is the like, where does most of the focus need to go, like in the next 10 years, right? Does it need to go to like entertainment, like content, television, film, or do they need to put more focus on parks?
Yeah, I mean, both, you would imagine, but yeah, who knows? And just because these are the two that are in the main spotlight right now doesn't mean it will be either one of them. Who can say? I mean,
right? Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be 2 years before they announce it, even before they're ready to announce anything. So
so they just need to stop talking about it.
I know. To me, says that they're nowhere near.
No,
making a decision.
There is no. I feel. I mean, there is never like no company has this hard of a time, and I understand. Like, there's so much like that comes with being the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, but no other company has this much trouble finding their next CEO.
Yeah, it's true. And interestingly, like I name a company who you actually care
even
who the chairman of the board is or the CEO of the company is.
That is
you know,
so true.
It's just like not a lot.
Please, like you could like tell me who's the CEO of like Comcast, Universal. You couldn't tell me that.
It is Frederick P. Darling. No, I have no idea. JT, I feel like there could not be a better birthday gift to you than to have an in-depth discussion on the topic of Touchstone Pictures. I feel like no one else is as well suited as the two of us to have this discussion here on the podcast.
Is that just because we're the oldest people like on this podcast and remember Touchstone very vividly?
I feel like when we brought it up, I feel like both Ryan and Kale were like,
sure, yeah.
Go do that. Have fun. Bye. And meanwhile, you and I were like, oh my gosh, we can talk about this. We can talk about this movie. Yeah. There's a lot. So it's been a while since we've had a discussion here on the podcast about something. We're going like sort of down the rabbit hole on a topic that not a lot of people know about Disney's
history. But it's important.
I mean, truly, it is important. There are some key pivotal moments in Disney history that were due to Touchstone, and Touchstone came around due to some pivotal moments in Disney history. Like, it all sort of lays nicely together in the history, the fabric that is the tapestry.
It's impacted your entertainment consumption, whether you realize it or not.
I'm gonna go on a limb here, and it's an easy limb to be on because I feel like a lot of people are gonna go, what? I didn't know these movies are under the Disney collection,
Right.
and in fact,
They are. Yes, they are.
And many, many more under
Yes.
different branches of Disney companies
Yes.
that you didn't know were Disney companies in the first place. Yeah. Okay, so Touchstone Pictures.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, let's start with why on earth are we talking about Touchstone Pictures?
That's a really good question, Patrick. I think it's just because you and I wanted to talk about it.
And that's an easy answer.
that's-
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
because
fair.
you and I think we stumbled across a couple of movies in like Disney history that were Touchstone Pictures, and we were like, man, I forget that that's a Touchstone Picture movie. And then we talked about Bette Midler and how she came to fame and
I
so
feel
we
like-
landed on we need a discussion about
Yeah,
Touchstone.
because I feel like there was an episode maybe over the summer, and I can't remember why you brought it up, but you brought up Adventures in Babysitting.
Sure.
And then I was recently watching and for some reason that it had totally escaped my movie watching until like recently, but I was watching Big Business. And
course.
we talked about that, and that like I think both of those were like, man, we really should have an episode about Touchstone Pictures. And I think it's a fascinating topic. You know, and I think like if you think it's not going to be interesting, stick around, because I think you will realize like that there's so many movies that you've seen that fall under this banner.
So many. Yeah.
So
many. Well, okay, so let's get started. I want to start like sort of prior to Touchstone Pictures.
That's where we should. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think
I'll jump on that ride.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I'll kick us off a little bit. So if you go way back in Disney history, you know very early on that Walt didn't want to just do animated movies, right? He did want to get into the live action game. He knew that there was money there. He knew that there were stories to tell that they just couldn't do with animated movies. But also early on, he knew that he wanted to start getting into more adult content. He wanted to make movies like there's a story that goes way back that he watched To Kill a Mockingbird and really fell in love with that movie and thought, why aren't we doing movies like this? And To Kill a Mockingbird was way back in 1963, if you'll remember. So you can see this slowly start to take motion over the years with the boom of Disney live action movies and even animated films. We're starting to get a little bit more grown up as sort of the kids who grew up with Disney when it first started to age as well. Walt sort of wanted to grow up with them a little bit. So we get like Sword in the Stone, right? And Robin Hood and the Aristocats, which are, you could argue, just are a little bit less whimsical and have some more adult themes in them.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
And then, of course...
go ahead. I was going to say, I think even before To Kill a Mockingbird, even in the 50s, he was trying to do that a little bit with like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
100%.
Yeah.
And so then we move a little bit into the late 70s and we start getting movies like Escape to Witch Mountain and The Black Hole, which was Disney's first PG rated movie ever under the Disney banner. We also have Water in the Woods in 1980, and then Tron was a huge one.
Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Something Wicked This Way Comes. A lot of movies that are not as celebrated today. In fact, they were not even that celebrated then. Yeah. The problem was, and I'll let you take over after this. The problem was when they started making these a little bit more adult movies, right? Audiences didn't really know what to do with them. Were they for kids? Were they for adults? The marketing was a little bit wonky behind them, and so they weren't making a lot of money. Audiences weren't really seeing them or responding well to them. And so in 1982, the VP of production at Disney, Tom Wilhite, is that how you pronounce his name?
Sure.
Sure, why not? Announced that Disney would start to produce these more mature movies under a new brand. In fact, a quote from Wilhite to the New York Times in 1982. I love this quote. He says, "We won't get into horror or exploitive sex, but using a non-Disney name will allow us wider latitude in the maturity of the subject matter and the edge we can add to the humor." So we start to getting the inklings of that they want to start a label that has a more mature theme that they wouldn't necessarily use the Disney name for, because they didn't want to sort of besmirch the magic that was Disney. However, they sort of put the cart before the horse here because they continued to pump out these mature films, but they did not create the label in which to put them under yet. So we get, as you said, we got the movie Something Wicked This Way Comes. We get the movie Trenchcoat, The Devil and Max Devlin, and Never Cry Wolf, all under still the Disney name. But they were losing money quickly for Disney because people were just not responding to them. So they realized they have to get this new label. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason they weren't doing well is because, Disney at that point, and still to this day, which is why they have different divisions, it's why we have some things on Hulu and some things on Disney Plus in the US.
Sure. Yeah.
Is because like Disney is so associated with family entertainment. And there was this there was this idea that like more adult movies with like what you consider adult content would kind of like besmirch the name of Disney, and the Disney name wouldn't be trusted for family entertainment. But the problem was when they were trying to like make some mature movies under the Disney name, they were kind of stymied by that. And so the movies honestly weren't that good because they were stuck in this like in between no man's land between, it's like they're kind of like playing around with some more adult themes, but they're not really going there. And so you just end up with this kind of like lukewarm product, right? That doesn't please anybody. It's like it's over kids' heads. It's too scary for kids, or it's too like the content is too over the heads of kids, and it's not sophisticated enough for adults, so nobody likes it.
Right. Yeah, they didn't give permission. They didn't give themselves permission to like just really lean into a horror movie or an adult themed movie. It was muddy for a while.
Yeah, for sure. But they finally on February 15th, 1984, they founded Touchstone Films. And it was founded, the CEO at the time was Ron Miller, who was the husband of Walt Disney's daughter, Diane Disney Miller. And they released their first film under this Touchstone banner very shortly after, and it was Splash, with a very little known actor named Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah.
It's true.
It was a huge hit.
It was a huge hit. I have to say, just for one side quick tangent, we could do a whole deep dive on Ron Miller.
He was
had such an he was a professional football player, and then he got injured, and Walt really loved him,
and he was kind of a daddy.
Rose in the ranks, and I'm not going to lie about it.
Attractive.
But go back and look it up, and a lot of really amazing things happened under his realm as well. But
for sure.
Yeah. He founded Touchstone Pictures, in fact. So we got Touchstone Pictures because of Ron Miller.
Yeah. And this was finally a way for Disney to like be able to make movies for adults with more mature themes, more sophisticated content, push the envelope a little bit, although they never pushed the envelope it wasn't a whole lot, right? But still push the envelope, still be made by Disney, but putting it under a different banner so that it wasn't necessarily associated with the Disney name. I mean, the average person is probably, I don't even know if the average person ever realized that Touchstone was owned by Disney, right? Like some people just go to the movies and they just like see, oh, okay. And they're not even paying attention to that, right?
Yeah.
But it still allowed Disney to be able to reap the profits from it, and to expand their audience, and it was super successful. I mean, the crazy thing right away. I mean, Splash was like a huge hit right out of the gate. 2 years later, they actually released their first R-rated film, the first R-rated film from Disney Studios, which was Down and Out in Beverly Hills in 1986. Also a big hit. And I mean, the 80s and 90s were really like, now it's kind of interesting because Touchstone was still releasing movies. They were still releasing movies under the Touchstone banner all the way into like, what was it, like 2010? Something like that. But the 80s and 90s were really like the heyday for it, right?
It was just hit after hit
after hit.
And it should be noted that, so right after Ron Miller founded Touchstone, he then left the company, or was removed from the company. There's a whole story there, and I believe this is when we get Michael Eisner as the new CEO. And as many people know, Michael Eisner was big into the commercial success of Disney, whether you want that to be a good thing or a bad thing. But he wanted the celebrity appeal. He wanted to be seen with celebrities. He wanted the biggest names to be part of this.
Well, he was the head of Paramount Pictures before that, so he was used to that kind of a thing, and he had
the contacts. Yeah. He had all of it. Yeah. So you're right. We just get hit after hit after hit. I mean, we'll go through the list in a bit, but you'll be surprised at how profitable this was for the company. And yet, Disney Animation was not doing well during this time.
It was not.
And I would argue because of Touchstone Pictures, because they spent so much time on all of these movies, they neglected the Disney Animation Studios, which go watch the movie Waking Sleeping Beauty for a full history on that part of it.
One little fun fact before we go further.
Of course.
When it was founded, it was actually called Touchstone Films. And did you know, Patrick, that they picked Touchstone Films out of 1,200 potential names?
I want to be in the room doing that so badly.
I know, because the runner-up is outrageously ridiculous. Like,
yes,
Silver Wind was the runner-up name. Like, we could be talking right now, Patrick, about Silver Wind Pictures. Something tells me if it was going to be Silver Wind, that I don't know we would be talking about this today.
That's hilarious.
Potentially. Now, another potential option was actually Hollywood Pictures, which would actually go on to be established as another Disney film label in 1989.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we had Splash was a huge hit in 1984. We had another milestone with their first R-rated film in 1986 with Down and Out in Beverly Hills. That was another big success for them.
Yeah.
This was followed by another massive success. This was Disney's first PG-13 rated film. Patrick, I think this is a film that you and I both, dare I say, love?
Maybe
Adventures in Babysitting.
You do, yeah.
Okay.
It's a. I don't know if it stands the test of time.
I don't think it does.
There's some problematic moments in it now, but at the time, it was a massive hit.
It was a massive hit at the time. It is still. It's like one of those movies where it just immediately takes you back to that period of time.
Yes. Yeah.
It is a movie of its time, for its time, and probably should stay in its time, if I'm being completely honest, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. I mean,
I will say I would love to see this turn into a musical, though.
Oh, now that would actually be phenomenal.
I think there's something there.
Okay,
just maybe sitting in the musical.
Okay, let's pause this discussion for a second. And who is going to write the music for this musical, Patrick, in your dream scenario?
Who's going to write it? Oh gosh, I have Lin-Manuel. No, I have no idea who's going to.
He's busy doing other things. What about Sarah Bareilles?
Sure, why not?
I don't know.
It's not going to have to be somebody like Huey Lewis has to do it, I feel like.
Oh, actually, yeah. And they just had a Huey Lewis jukebox musical on Broadway.
There you go.
It should be like an 80s feel
I think
to the
so.
music,
somebody,
right?
Yeah. Somebody like Elton John maybe would do the music for it.
They would have to really reconfigure it, because the entire movie is really about false views of and fear mongering of cities in the suburbs.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
All that to say,
yes,
massive hit. Another massive hit. More films were coming. Ruthless People, Outrageous Fortune, Big Business. Patrick, what is a common Beaches?
Yes.
What is a common theme among those movies for you? What is a common denominator with some of these movies' names that I just said?
I feel like you're circling around a certain redhead we all know and love.
I am.
That would be the wonderful Bette Midler.
Bette Midler.
Yes.
I don't I mean, I feel like, I don't know, maybe you had to be grow up around that time. I mean, I was a kid when all this was happening. Bette Midler was a massive movie star because of Touchstone Pictures.
Yeah, you really couldn't go into a movie store without seeing 47 movie covers with Bette Midler's face on it somewhere, somehow.
Yeah. And they were Touchstone movies.
Most of them, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, she was also such a major part, and Touchstone was such a major part of the early years of the Disney MGM Studios theme park.
It's true.
I mean, there was even a themed. Was it a coffee shop? It was like a themed coffee shop or like a themed quick service that was themed to like one of the restaurant locations in Big Business, like at the Plaza.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the very early days of MGM Studios.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It tracks.
Yeah.
It totally tracks. Yeah. So the 80s with Touchstone Pictures, I mean, yeah, really launched Bette Midler's career. She was almost then at that point known as an actor instead of a singer, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That. It was pretty wild. And the movies themselves for Touchstone are becoming so successful that Disney enters a licensing deal with Showtime, a 5-year deal. And I think it was one of the first of its kind to do this, that they would exclusively air Touchstone films on Showtime, that they gave them all of the rights to use them for the next 5 years, some of them in perpetuity.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. I mean, they were pumping out so many hits, they didn't know what to do with them all. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, and pumping out so many hits that with Touchstone, Disney moved to the very top of all studios at the box office. Yeah. That happened like really quickly. They were number one at the box office of all movie studios by 1988.
Yeah, it was wild. Something interesting to note here. So Touchstone Pictures was under Disney, but it wasn't actually its own company yet. Like, it didn't have its own president for a while. They were just using the label Touchstone to slap on all of these movies that weren't going to live under the Disney label, the Walt Disney Pictures label. But everything was still being funded through the Walt Disney Company, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Think of like Pixar actually is its own studio, whereas Touchstone at this time was not its own studio until they were making so many movies and making so much money that they had to create a studio because all of the resources were just being depleted. Like, no one was working for Walt Disney anymore. They were all working for Touchstone. So they turned Touchstone Pictures into its own studio. They give them a president, which was in 1988.
88, yeah.
Which incidentally was the same year that Touchstone teams up for the first time ever with Amblin Entertainment to release Who Framed Roger Rabbit, another massive hit for
1988 was like a really like watershed year for Touchstone Pictures because they hit number one at the box office out of all movie studios.
Yeah.
They were established as their own studio with a studio president, and they had what is one of their biggest, most iconic hits with Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
It was wild. And this was all at the time then you have to think about, like, meanwhile, on the other side of town, studios were shutting down during this time because Touchstone was doing so well and just eating up all of the box office profits that they were basically the movie studio in town. No one else was doing what they were doing, and they were shutting down other businesses because of how massively successful they were, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, and I mean, also during this time, they're making so many movies, and there's other production companies that are closing their shops up. That this is when, so they bring back around the Hollywood Pictures name, and they found another division called Hollywood Pictures.
That's right. Yeah. They have to create an entire other studio to just basically do the same work with another team involved. So they're just, that's how many movies they're making at this time. Under Disney. Wild.
and the same guy that's president of Touchstone is also named president of Hollywood Pictures. That's right. They end up sharing marketing and distribution with Touchstone. And then shortly after that, Touchstone also signs a first look agreement to co-produce and distribute movies with Merchant Ivory Productions, which Merchant Ivory Productions, they're commonly known for movies like A Room with a View, Howard's Inn, The Remains of the Day. So we're getting to like super sophisticated, like, adult fare that is now verging into like Academy Award territory, and now Disney is starting to like, these movies are starting to go after like Oscars, which is just that's just another sort of what's the word I'm looking for, demonstration of how Disney is like in this time in the mid 80s to late 80s. This is still kind of this is still sort of when, if you've watched Waking Sleeping Beauty, this is when they're starting to turn a corner, and the Renaissance is not the Renaissance yet, right? It's so all this attention is still on live action, and animation is still kind of getting the short shrift, right?
Truly it is. Yeah. Until actually, so we talked about Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you could argue, is really the turning point in which people go, oh yeah, animation. We forgot about animation, and people love it. They were worried that people were just sort of done with animation altogether. Who Framed Roger Rabbit comes out, massive hit. Animation is back in the game. Then we start getting, the next year we get The Little Mermaid, right? And so the Renaissance begins with animation. With that, though, Touchstone Pictures and the live action movies start to dwindle a tad, right?
A tad.
We're still getting big hits, but it's not what it was in the early 80s, early to mid 80s.
Yeah. Before we get to like the 90s though, I just have to like list some of the movies in the 80s that were Touchstone Pictures, because I think it's going to blow people's minds if they don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've talked about Splash, we talked about Down and Out in Beverly Hills, Ruthless People, The Color of Money, which was like with Paul Newman and I think Tom Cruise, Outrageous Fortune, Adventures in Babysitting we talked about, Can't Buy Me Love, which is like a classic teen movie from the 80s with Patrick Dempsey. It was probably everybody's intro to Patrick Dempsey.
Yes.
Three Men and a Baby. Good Morning Vietnam, which is an iconic Robin Williams movie. Big Business, we talked about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Cocktail, Beaches, Dead Poet Society. Now we're getting to the 90s and the early 90s. Dead Poet Society, Pretty Woman, the Ernest movies, and then what I think is another absolutely iconic Disney film that I think people associate. I don't know how people label this movie in their own head, because it had such a big presence at the MGM Studios theme park. But the Warren Beatty, Dick Tracy with Madonna as Breathless Mahoney. That is a Touchstone picture. It's just crazy, right? I mean, insane.
We got Turner and Hooch was in
Turner
there.
and Hooch, The Rocketeer, which is another iconic
Rocketeer.
Disney film. Father of the Bride with Steve Martin and Diane Keaton as a Touchstone picture. And then what I mean is truly like a landmark, at least in our circles and the circles of the people that are listening to this podcast, is Sister Act.
I mean, come on.
Stop. Which originally was a Bette Midler movie.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was written. That was supposed to be written for Bette Midler. So just like, and keeping going to the early 90s, what's love got to do with it? The Nightmare Before Christmas was a Touchstone picture. Sister Act 2, Ed Wood, Father of the Bride Part 2. But now we're starting to get a little bit more, like you were saying, where we're now in the early to mid 90s where animation is king again, and Touchstone and live action is starting to dwindle just a little bit, because the hits start to be, the smash hits start to be a little less smashy. And a little more just because we get into like Up Close and Personal and The Preacher's Wife, and still movies that are hits, but not like these gargantuan like cultural touchstones, pun intended.
Fair. And they're a little bit more few and far between as well. So in the 80s it was like 6 or 7 movies a year at least and now we're getting into 3 or 4 movies a year, and they're good. They're just not, people aren't quite as attached to them as they were before. So so we're getting to the 90s and early 2000s. So and another pivotal point then happens for Touchstone when Disney starts to develop this new movie based on the attraction Pirates of the Caribbean, if you will. So and then the studio also decides to release this movie under the Walt Disney banner instead of the Touchstone or the Hollywood Pictures banner,
which was kind of shocking at the time, because that's also a Jerry Bruckheimer production, which Jerry Bruckheimer had a long-standing like contract with Touchstone Pictures, where Touchstone would distribute his movies, right? Yes.
But it was a smart move, though. They knew that because this movie was, they were pretty sure it was going to be a big success. They were pumping all the money they had into this movie, and it was a smart move because they realized now they have an attachment to the parks with them, that they can bring people back into the parks when they weren't really going quite as much. And it just made sense to put it under Walt Disney to remind people that Walt Disney still does live action movies and they can do them well. So we have Pirates of the Caribbean, and it was, in fact, a massive hit, which is not great news for Touchstone or Hollywood Pictures, because now they're going, uh-oh, Disney's back. They're going to take our jobs. And they did. They basically did.
They did. Well, and they released movies that normally would have been Touchstone movies 10 or 15 years prior, 20 years prior. So where's the need for a separate Touchstone Pictures division? They kind of started just keeping, they reduced the film slate for Touchstone to just I think it was a few films a year, and kind of that would be the exclusive sort of house for if we're going to release an R-rated movie, it'll be a Touchstone picture or a Hollywood picture.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And bear in mind that the Disney Channel is now becoming a massive hit as well for Disney. And so they're starting to release movies exclusively on the Disney Channel.
Right.
Not successful. I mean, I guess that depends on the viewer, I guess, if it's successful or not. They were massive hits. A lot of people love them. I was not, part of that generation necessarily.
The decoms.
Yeah. So Touchstone and Hollywood Pictures are starting to dwindle down. They agree on maybe 2 movies a year at this point, and so things aren't looking great for Touchstone at this time. In fact, they now start to stop releasing movies basically altogether, and Disney flips them into basically just a distribution label.
Yeah. That was the next
choice.
big, that was a next big shift for Touchstone, because, and not only shifting them to a distribution label, but specifically for films made by DreamWorks. So this was the studio that, ironically enough, Jeffrey Katzenberg left Disney
I know, it's wild.
To start, and now he's back in bed with Disney because DreamWorks is distributing. Or Touchstone is distributing the movies that are being made by DreamWorks, which also it's very incestuous because Jeffrey Katzenberg left Disney, and then Touchstone had done some things with Amblin Entertainment, which was Steven Spielberg's company. So they're now releasing DreamWorks movies.
Basically, yeah, and it should be noted then, because they're because they're the distribution label, basically means they're funding them, and so Disney doesn't necessarily own these movies that are under DreamWorks that were being released at this time, but they were sharing in the profits because they basically gave them a blank check to say, hey, we don't want to do the work, we want you to do the work, we just want some of the profits behind it, and that's exactly what they did for the next 5-6 years. Then they even start scaling that back a lot. So they kind of the money is just starting to, and the energy is just starting to peter out. And when was it? It was 20.
So in 2016, so the Touchstone deal with DreamWorks ended in 2016, and the last movie that they released with that deal was a movie called The Light Between Oceans. That was the last movie that Disney ever released under the Touchstone Pictures banner.
In partnership with them. So at that point, then that movie's released. They fully disband. So Touchstone is no longer a thing that exists. Universal picks up the distribution deal with DreamWorks and run with it. Basically, we're starting to get movies like Shrek and all of those movies, and they go to Universal Parks. That's why we have them there, because they picked up that distribution label for DreamWorks. Interestingly enough, and Touchstone, long forgotten label with hundreds and hundreds of hits behind that.
Hundreds and hundreds of hits. Patrick, I have a little quiz for you.
Oh, my stars.
I was trying to figure out, yes, for you.
The tables have turned.
The tables have turned. I was trying to figure out how do we, without just listing movie upon movie, how do we let people, how do we share some of these iconic films, even into the 90s and 2000s that were actually Touchstone Pictures, and also get you in the hot seat a little bit.
Oh, now I'm nervous.
Okay.
Well, one thing we should call out. So it's interesting. And maybe this is where you're going with the quiz. There are so many movies that were under Touchstone that Disney doesn't actually own anymore because of who they were partnering with them. And so it's kind of a fun game to figure out, does Disney own this movie or does Disney not own this movie?
That's very true.
It's weird. It's weird.
And it's weird. And it's now that I mean, it's super convoluted too, because it's really, it's more and more, the more that Disney buys, it's really hard to figure out what they own and what they don't own.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, especially when it comes to like now that they own 20th Century Fox.
That's just a whole.
Like I see stuff on Hulu and I'm like, what? You know,
how on earth? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready, Patrick?
I think so. Boy, I'm getting a taste of my own medicine, and it does not taste good. But we'll see what happens.
Now, the thing is, though, is that every movie we name is going to be a Touchstone movie.
Okay.
It's just going to be, it's going to be more of a surprise, I guess, for people listening that maybe don't realize. But it's going to be, can you identify the movie?
Oh gosh. Okay. I'm not good at this, but we'll see what happens.
So this is a Touchstone movie.
Okay.
That stars Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, okay.
That is based on a Pulitzer Prize winning book.
Would this be The Color Purple?
No.
Oh, it's not? Oh, wait. No. Oh, is it Beloved?
It's Beloved.
Beloved.
A Touchstone picture.
I was going to say, I don't think that was a Touchstone picture, but Beloved, yes.
A Touchstone picture.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't think it's owned by Disney, though, Beloved, or is it?
I don't think so.
I'd have to. You know what? We're not going to play that game.
We're not playing that game. It's
we're
way
not
too
lawyers.
convoluted.
We're not.
No,
Yeah.
Okay. Patrick.
Yes.
This movie is about a bar and features women dancing on top of the bar and Leanne Rimes on the soundtrack.
What is Coyote Ugly?
A Touchstone picture.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is indeed.
Okay. This movie stars George Clooney on The Lamb. And it is an adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey.
Oh, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
A Touchstone picture.
Oh my gosh, I'm good at this game, turns out.
Yeah, you're really good at this.
Who knew?
Okay. This movie stars Bruce Willis,
Okay.
Liv Tyler, and Ben Affleck. And it is about a group of astronauts that go out into space to save the world.
What is the movie that competed with Deep Impact, but is actually called Armageddon?
A Touchstone picture.
Yes, it is.
This is a movie.
Yeah.
Also featuring Ben Affleck.
Uh-oh.
But it is about one of the most momentous days in U.S. history.
Pearl Harbor.
A Touchstone picture.
And Josh Hartnett, I might add.
And Josh Hartnett. Oh, yeah, prime Josh Hartnett. Okay. This film stars Steve Martin.
Okay.
And Queen Latifah.
Oh.
And Joan Plowright.
Oh gosh. I can't think of it. Oh, someone's screaming it out right now.
Yeah.
What is a movie that I don't know the title of? Is that what it's called?
That's exactly what it's called.
Okay, great.
But it's like working title was Bringing Down the House.
Of course it was. Of course
Yeah.
it was. Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Queen Latifah.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
I've got a couple more for you.
Okay. Just 17 more.
Just
Bear with us, everybody.
No, just a couple more.
Great.
Okay. This movie has an all-star cast including Gene Hackman, Luke Wilson, Gwyneth Paltrow,
Oh my.
and Bill Murray.
And Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm. It is about an eccentric family.
Okay.
And it was a movie that really put its director on the map. And this director has gone on to make many, many other very quirky, movies about quirky, eccentric families and groups of people.
Why do I want to say Bottle Rocket? Was it Bottle Rocket? No.
Same. You got the right film director, but not the right movie.
Oh gosh. Is there another hint involved?
Sure. It is the title of the movie has the family. The title of the movie has the family's name in it.
Oh, it's the Royal Tenenbaums.
Yes,
of course.
the Royal
Oh my
Tenenbaums.
gosh,
Yes.
I'm upset that I didn't come up with the Royal Tenenbaums. It's one of my favorite movies.
Love that movie, and it's a Touchstone picture.
Yes.
I've got two more for you. This movie, Patrick, is a true. It's based on a true story about someone in the broadcast news business, and it had a hit single that really launched Celine Dion into the absolute stratosphere. It was a number one hit.
About a broadcast news company or
a broadcast news person.
A broadcast news person.
It starred Robert Redford and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Of course it did. Oh gosh.
You get a bonus if you can name the number one hit single from the soundtrack.
I may not have seen this movie because it is nowhere in my vernacular right now. I cannot place it.
Can you at least name the number one hit single?
I cannot.
Okay. The movie is called Up Close and Personal.
Of course it is.
And the number one hit single was Because You Loved Me.
Oh, wow.
By Celine Dion. Okay.
Man alive. That song was on the radio every 14 seconds.
Right. Because you got that one wrong, I'm going to give you two more chances here.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. You get two more chances and then we're done. Okay.
Hour 10 of this episode. Okay.
This movie stars Heath Ledger and is an adaptation of a Shakespeare play.
10 Things I Hate About You.
Yes, a Touchstone picture. And finally, Patrick, your last one.
Oh my goodness, okay.
This movie was nominated for 10 Academy Awards.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And it stars Cameron Diaz, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh. It's not Ernest Goes to Camp.
No, but that is a Touchstone picture.
I know. Or Ernest Saves Christmas. No, it is Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York, that is correct.
Ding, ding, dang.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I have to ask you, Patrick, before we leave this main topic.
Of course, yes.
What was do you remember what your first Touchstone movie was? Because I'm thinking. I mean, I guess when I ask you that question, what I mean by that is maybe you don't remember your first one, but what was the moment when you're growing up and you're like kind of like transitioning and you're like, oh, I'm watching a more like adult movie, and you remember it as a Touchstone movie.
I guess, at this age, I wouldn't have like been able to discover what was a Touchstone movie versus Disney. I never would have put those, two things together. But I have a twofold answer for you. My first one would be 3 Men and a Baby.
Okay.
I feel like is a movie that I feel like is quintessential Touchstone Pictures movie. And I remember it very distinctly seeing it and realizing that I'm a kid watching an adult movie that kids can still watch, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Right? Yeah, for sure.
And so maybe that's what you're getting at. But
I think so.
But I do have it's not my favorite Touchstone movie, though. If that, are we going there next?
Well, that was my next question for you was like, what is
great.
your favorite Touchstone movie?
Okay, well, let me get to that after I ask you the same question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you have a specific memory?
I do, yeah. So, I mean, I will say I was one of those nerdy kids who I was very aware of the Touchstone label because I was super into like entertainment and like entertainment news and stuff. And so I was aware of what that label represented. And like as a kid, like you always want to like, you want to be older. You want to watch stuff you that's maybe like too old for you or whatever. Yeah. But I remember my parents taking me to the theater to see Sister Act in 1990. I guess that would have been 92.
Sure, that sounds right. It was early 90s, yeah.
Early 90s, yeah.
The first one.
Being like, oh, I'm going to the movies and I'm seeing a movie that's like not a kid's movie. And I remember seeing that Touchstone. I can see like the blue bar go across the screen.
Oh my gosh, vividly.
Yes. That's my first like probably big Touchstone memory.
I love that.
So what's your favorite movie with the Touchstone label?
I think it's a movie that deserves its own episode, and
okay.
we may do it for Magic and Monsters at some point. But because I want to do it deserves a deep dive.
I'm intrigued,
and that would be the movie Dick Tracy. I think is for me one of the greatest. I'm going to say films of all time. If we can get pretentious, it's just such a beautiful, well done, exciting, explosive. Nothing like it kind of a movie for me anyways.
Yeah, I love that movie. I could talk for forever about that movie. The art direction is like just
gorgeous.
In terms of like realizing a complete vision for how you want a movie to look, like Warren Beatty like did the thing.
He stepped all over that movie. It was great.
An absolutely iconic Madonna performance as Breathless Mahoney. I mean, she made a whole album. Like, and it's got Sondheim music in it. Like original Stephen Sondheim songs. Like
it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. No, I think that is a fantastic choice as a favorite Touchstone movie. Yeah.
Thank you. What about you?
For me, something that's maybe not quite as artistically accomplished as Dick Tracy.
Sure.
But a movie that I absolutely love so much is The Preacher's Wife with Whitney Houston.
Oh, yeah. What a great... Wow.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite Touchstone movie. I just... That movie just gives me all the warm fuzzies, and it's just like it's like so sad that Whitney's not with us, but like that movie was like her at some of the height of her powers, I think, as a vocalist. And I think maybe because she had been in a couple movies already, I think it might be like, for me, her best like acting performance on screen.
Sure.
And I just love that movie. So Jennifer Lewis is in that movie, and just so good. I love Jennifer Lewis, and I just, that's probably my favorite Touchstone movie.
The thing about Touchstone movies, I guess as we wrap up here, is that I feel like when you think of a movie that you can just put on in the background, or a movie to sort of like zone out to or fall asleep to, and I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
I think of Touchstone movies. I think of these movies that I've seen them so many times that I don't need to get invested, but I can get invested. You know what I mean? It's just, movies that will always live with me are the Touchstone movies. You know,
very rewatchable. Like they're like movies. Yes. Like when you think of what is a movie, like it's a Touchstone movie is a movie.
100%. Yeah. It's hard to describe, but when you think of some of your very favorite movies, I'm going to bet you that a handful of them are a Touchstone label.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what a great discussion. I'm glad we talked about this. There's a lot.
Too.
I mean, I'm sure we didn't cover a lot of it, but we thought it was just such an interesting moment in Disney history. And a lot of movies that we wouldn't necessarily talk about on the podcast, just due to their nature. I mean, they are in fact Disney movies, but they're not necessarily the movies that we cover on this podcast. So we thought we'd give them, their day in the sun.
Yeah, and it would be great for Tweedles to like write in voicemail.
Yeah.
Let us know. Do you have a favorite Touchstone movie? Were you aware of Touchstone? Like, is that a thing for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this brand new information for you? Are you
is this brand? Are you? Is your world rocked right now?
That's right.
Yeah.
Let us know. You can dive into our Donna Murphy's at GDTD podcast, or be like Daniel and send us a voice memo or an email, of course, to info@gazetothed.com.
Was Donna Murphy ever in a Touchstone movie?
I don't know. Was Center Stage a Touchstone picture? No, it wasn't.
I don't think it was. Yeah.
No, it came out way too late. Oh, Center Stage.
She would be right at home. She would be right at home in a Touchstone movie.
I feel like there's maybe a Merchant Ivory situation out there with Donna.
Oh, potentially. Yeah. She is in the Disney family though, so that's
of course she is.
Yeah.
She is Disney family.
Yeah. Well, this has been Touchstone with Patrick and JT.
I'm going to go watch Beaches now and cry myself to sleep.
Please. Yeah. Patrick, you are the wind beneath my wings.
Thank you so much. And you are a titsling.
Oh, thanks. Well, Patrick,
Yes, Queen JT.
well, we've touched stones, so now let's touch some quick D.
Oh, my stars. From stones to D's.
From stones to D.
We cover it all here at Gaze to the D.
We do. Sticks and stones.
May break our stones? No, I don't know. What?
No, I don't
let's
know.
see. Don't break your stones, please. Let's keep
No,
those.
don't do that.
Keep those
Don't do
sacred.
that.
All right. Are you
Yeah.
ready, JT, for some quick D questions?
I am.
All right.
I'm excited.
Well, now that Halloween is over, as of this recording, or as of this dropping of the recording, I guess, because people are
Yes,
listening to this
yeah.
after Halloween. It is
I
now.
can I can imagine.
It is now time for the Thanksgiving holidays to,
Oh, yes, it
to be
is.
upon us. And we have a question from one Hibdande. Are you ready?
I think so. I know Hibdande, so I don't know if I can ever be ready for what he might ask, but yes.
It is an appropriate question, which is shocking.
Okay, oh wow.
It's a
okay,
brand new
that is,
day.
That is
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay. So we have Hibdande asking which I'm gonna edit this a little bit, Hibdande, because he's asking which 5 Disney characters would you have over for a Friendsgiving? We simply don't have the time. This is quick D, Hibdande, after all. So
I don't want to pull the Leafs out of my table.
no, I can't. I simply can't. I don't have 5 chairs, so we have to make it 3. 3 characters are coming over for a
okay.
Friendsgiving, JT.
Okay.
Who are you having over for a Friendsgiving at your place?
Friendsgiving. Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to have over. Is this meal catered, or are we responsible for cooking?
Let's make it catered. Let's make it
Okay, catered.
Yep, it's
Okay,
just
all right.
just the people are coming over.
Just the people. Okay. I am inviting. Oh, let me think for a second. I'm going to invite.
Quick DJ.
Oh my god, a quick D. Okay, all right. You know what? I'm just gonna go with my instinct here.
That's
my
best.
instinct.
Yeah.
Okay. I am inviting Belle.
I thought you said Bill. I was like, Bill from what? Bill Murray?
Pecos Bill. I'm inviting Pecos Bill.
Great, love it.
No, I'm inviting Belle from
Perfect.
Beauty and the Beast.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm going to invite. You know what? I'm going to extend an olive branch, and I'm going to invite Cruella DeVille.
Of course you are. For the fashions.
Yeah, she'll bring the fashion. And then because every Thanksgiving needs a little eye candy, I am going to actually I do need 4, Patrick, because
Oh goodness. Okay. Quick D, JT.
I will pull up a chair. We'll add a chair.
Great.
And I'm going to invite Prince Naveen and Princess Tiana.
Of course you are. Okay. You can't have one without the other. Okay, that's fair. What a lovely Thanksgiving. I like this.
Yeah, right?
What a meal.
I know.
What a friendship fair. You might stumble across.
Who's at your house?
You know what? In honor of Touchstone, I'm going to invite Bette Midler from Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
Bette Midler from Ruthless People.
Oh.
And Bette Midler from Peaches.
That is a perfect answer.
That's all. I mean, it's a perfect. Just me and Bette Midler from 3 different movies.
I love it. See
what
why not?
happens.
Why not Bet from Big Business?
Well, she knows what she did. She
That's
knows
true.
What she did.
No, she does. She absolutely does.
Yes.
That is an amazing answer, though. That's way better than mine.
Well, I'm
coming to your house.
I had to outdo you on your own birthday. So
I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to leave Naveen, Tiana, Belle, and Cruella at my house and come to yours.
It's best if you do. It's best
Yeah,
if you do.
yeah. I'll bring beignets from Tiana.
There you go.
That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. Ratings and reviews are greatly appreciated and help people find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. You can continue the conversation after this episode on Instagram at GDTD Podcasts and submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See you real soon.
And you are a titsling.